Hello and welcome to another episode of my Quest System series. Before we add our last template to the project, there is one bug with the find template that I want to fix first. The problem is that when we go to our Quest actors, Quest test 1, and we will go to our find quest here, which is our second subgoal at index 1. If we give that an updated quest description, for example, you found the mystical cone, and we can add a /n before that to add a free line. File save. If we play, pick up our mystical cone here, and afterwards get the quest. Then kill our 2 spiders here. Our find goal was completed, but when we open up the journal, you will see that you found the mystical cone does not appear here, even though the goal was completed successfully. To fix that, we will need to go to our BP master quest, and in the setup starting goals function, before we go into the for each loop, we want to set the current description. So copy that, paste it, connect that up here and remove it where it was before. And then we need to go to our add goal for index function, and we will add some space before the for each loop here. We can copy what we have in our complete subgoal function for that. So that's the branch here. This one, next branch, update description. Copy that, go back, paste it here, connect the wire up here. So then for the goal info here, we want to plug in the goal at local index. And after we updated the description, we want to go into the for each loop, or if the second branch is false, or if the first branch is false. So have to connect everything up to the for each loop here. Alright, when we compile, save and play now, we can get the mystical cone, add our first quest, go to the spiders and kill both of them. So, and if we hit J now, check our first quest, it will read you found the mystical cone. So that's working now, which means that we can start with our talk template. First thing we'll need to do is go to our quest system folder, blueprints, structure, goal info, and we will add a new variable here, which will be called goal ID. That's an integer, and let's move that up so it appears directly underneath the goal class. We just want to use that because you don't want to add a new class for every NPC. Sometimes you just want to have multiple actors of the same class, and then you will need the goal ID to specify which one the player needs to talk to. Okay, save the other structures here. Afterwards, go to the widgets folder, and we will add a new widget blueprint here. Let's call that the message widget. That will just be a very basic dialog setup, and I won't go into detail for that because I already made a complex dialog system. Let's remove the canvas panel, add a size box, check maximum desired width and set it to 500. Then we will add a text, which we will just call message. Check this variable. We will make that slightly grayish. So I will just use a hex linear code here, which is 9C, 9C, 9CFF. We'll give it an outline of the size of 1 pixel and also make the shadow color opaque. Then scroll down, set the justification to align text center, and we will check auto wrap text, compile, save, and close it. Afterwards, we will go back to our blueprints, actors, BP Quest Manager. First, we want to add a new function here, which is has current quest, ? It will have one input and two outputs. The input will be the quest class, which will be a master quest class. And the output will first be a boolean just called out ? And then a BP master quest reference called quest actor. Alright. What we will do here is drag in our current quest actors, and we'll go into a for each loop with break. For every element, we want to get the class and check whether that equals the in quest class. Let's add a branch for that. If it's true, we will drag off of the array element, promote to local variable, found quest, and set that. Afterwards, we will break out of our loop. Add some reroute nodes here. When our loop is completed, we want to drag in the found quest and do an isValid check. If it's not valid, we will just return with false and null. But if it is valid, we will add another return node. Here we will check the out and drag in the found quest as the quest actor. Also, we want to select our function and check the pure here. Compile, save. Then let's go to our event graph, and we will add a custom event, which we will call on talked to NPC. It will have two inputs. First one will be the NPC class, which will be a master NPC class, obviously, and then we will have the NPC ID, which will just be an integer. Same as with our other events down here, we want to get our current quest actors, run a for each loop, and inside of that run a second for each loop for all the current goals. So we can copy that. For every goal, we first want to break that, check whether the type equals enum, then select talk, and we also want to check whether the goal class equals the NPC class. So connect that to the end. Then we will add a third pin, and we want to check whether the goal ID also equals the in NPC ID. Connect that to the end, add a branch, and if it's true, we want to drag off of our quest actor, complete subgoal, and to find out the index, again we want to get the current subgoal indices, get from that, add the array index of our second loop, plug that in for the subgoal index, and connect that to the branch up here, just like we did down here with our onObjectFound and onEnemyKilled event. Compile, save that. Afterwards, we will have to go to our characters and open up the master NPC. First thing that I want to change here is the hasQuest icon. We will just rename that to hasQuest and make that a master quest class, change variable type. It will give us some errors, but that's fine. Up here, when we set the visibility of the question mark, we want to perform an isValid check for our hasQuest and plug that in for the new visibility. So if a quest is assigned, the question mark will be visible, and if not, it will be hidden. Then scroll down and on interact with. When we check for contains, we will check whether it contains the hasQuest. and if not, we will add the hasQuest. Before we go into the branch here, we first want to check whether the hasQuest is valid. Add a branch for that, and only if it's true, go into the second one. Then there are some other variables that we have to add. So first is the NPC ID, which will be an integer, exposed and spawn and editable. Then there is the default message, which will be a text, also editable and exposed and spawn. Afterwards, the default duration, so that will define how long our default message is visible. It will be a float, also editable and exposed and spawn. Then we will add another variable called inPlayerRadius. Question mark, that will be a boolean. Next variable is called can be talked to question mark. Compile and set the default value for that to true. Afterwards, we'll head over to the viewport and add a new widget component. Let's call that message component. We'll move that up by 210 in Z or 240, whatever you have in your interaction widget. 240. Space will be screen, class will be message widget. The pivot point will be set to 0.5 in X and 0 in Y. Collision will be no collision. Uncheck generate overlap events, and we will uncheck is visible by default. File save. Go back to the event graph and on event begin play, add some space and move everything after the set visibility node over a bit. Because what we want to do is get our message component, get user widget object, cast that to the message widget. We can convert that to a pure cast because we know that will always succeed. And afterwards promote it to a variable called message widget. Connect that up here to the cast. We will modify our two events down here on enter player radius and on leave player radius. I'll move that over a bit because we want to set our in player radius to true if we enter the player radius, and copy that, set it to false when we leave the radius. And we will only set the visibility of our interaction widget to true if can be talked to is set to true as well. So we will add a branch for that. If can be talked to is true, we will set the visibility. Afterwards, we will add a custom event called onTalkTo. Give that an input, which will be of the type third person character reference, and it will be called player. Then we will go back to our interact with event, and request is not valid. We will just call onTalkTo. Connect the character as the player here. Or if our quest is valid, but our all quest classes array already contains that, we will also call onTalkTo. And connect the player from our input here. Then down here we will add another custom event called showMessage. It will have 3 inputs. Last one will be of the type third person character, and we call that player. The first one will be called message, which means that it will be a text. And the second one will be called duration, which is a float. We will drag in our can be talked to, add a branch, and only if it's true we will do something. If it's true, we will set it to false, so we cannot talk to someone twice at the same time. Drag in the interaction widget, set visibility to false, so we will hide that. Get the message widget, get the message text, set text to the in message from our event. Afterwards, get the message component and set visibility to true, So that will be shown instead of an interaction widget now. Drag off of the player input and get the quest manager. Quest manager reference, because we will call on talked to NPC then. Line that up here. The NPC class will be get class, and the object will be ourselves, meaning it will be our own class, and drag in the NPC ID. We will go into a delay node for the duration that was specified in the input here. Afterwards, drag in the message component again, set visibility, uncheck the new visibility, drag in the interaction widget and set visibility of that to in player radius. So just for that node here we had to create this variable. And afterwards we will reset can be talked to true. Alright, let's add a comment box around that. Event show message. And in our onTalk2 event we will just call show message, connect the player, and we will drag in the default duration and default message and connect those two to a node. Add a comment box around on talk2. If we close the master NPC now and check our NPCs in the level, we need to add the quest test1 to our robo again. Let's give that a default message. Hey, I gave you the first quest. Don't you remember me? Question mark. And the duration of, let's say, 3 seconds. If we hit play now and interact with Robo the first time, we will get the quest. If we interact with him the second time, we will see this little dialog here. So that's working. What we could do now is go back to our quest actors, quest test1, and here the third subgoal, index 2, is a talk quest. We will just change the edition name to robo, leave the goal ID at 0, and the goal class will be master NPC. Also, let's set it up so that we start with this quest so we don't have to kill our spiders first. Starting subgoal indices will be 2. Compile, save, start. Let's get the quest, talk to Robo. If we talk to him, that was completed, but we did not set up any following subgoal indices, so we've got that little bug there. If we hit J, check out journal, it's completed. Also, what you might want to do is have your NPC say different things based on whether you're supposed to talk to him or not. To do that, you would just go to your characters, master NPC, and create a child blueprint. We will call that NPC underscore RAM. Double click to open that up. In the viewport, we will exchange the mesh to char underscore RAM. Go to the class defaults, set the name to RAM. And the only thing you would need to do is override the event on talk2. What you would want to do is get the player here, get the quest manager, then call the function we created at the beginning of this video called hasQuest, hasCurrentQuest. Quest class will be test1. We will add a branch for the out. If it's false, we will right click on our event and call the parent function, connect the player, which means we would just show the default message. But if not, so if we have the quest, we'll get the quest actor, get the current goal indices, and check whether they contain 2, so the index of our talk goal, add a branch for that. If that's false, just go to the parent on talk to, but if it's true, we will show message, connect the player from the input node, and you can specify a message, for example, now we can talk, good job, exclamation mark, duration of 3.5 seconds, let's say, close NPC RAM, drag him into the level, and you can set up a default message that will appear when we don't have that quest. For example, hey, I am Ram, come back when you are told to talk to me, and default duration 3 seconds. Then we will go back to our actors, quest actors, quest test 1. Let's set the starting goal in the city back to 0, and for our find quest we will exchange the name to Ram, and the class here will be npc_Ram. Pile, save. If we play now, get our quest, can talk to him, see his default message, let's hunt the 2 spiders, 1 and 2, then we will find the mystical cone, and now we've got the goal to talk to Ram. Let's talk to him, and we completed that. If we restart the game and talk to him without having the quest, we will see, hey, I'm Ram, come back when you're told to talk to me. Alright, that's it for this video. I hope you like it, and see you in the next one.